please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
A very good morning. Welcome to Chartbusters. Well, this is a show where we'll highlight all the buzzing stocks of the day. We'll also give you some expert advice on how you can capitalize and trade. I'm Nigel D'Souza, and with me today is Reema Tendulkar. Hey, Reema. Good morning. Things looking good, as we speak. We already had a good week. Last couple of weeks have been quite good. And today as well, we're holding with some gains. At one point of time, we slipped a tad bit. Even the mid-cap index was on the verge of moving into the red. But a couple of stocks like ICICI Bank, they're doing well in today's trading session. And you can't keep that one out today. HDFC AMC, stellar gains on a trailing basis, trading at around 51 times. If you're comparing the market cap to, you're comparing market cap to the AUM, then it's at around 11%, 12% odd. Wow, what big returns. Retail audience out there, 14,300 rupees is what they got, and more than 7,000 on day one.
Yes, talking about the valuations for HDFC AMC, as you pointed out, the market cap to AUM on a trailing basis, 12%. Compare that with a Reliance Nippon AMC, which on a trailing basis is about 6.5 to 7 times. So practically double. So that's the extent of the staggering gains that we've seen, for HDFC AMC and the strong debut. For the markets, just a tad below that 11,400 mark, while the Sensex and the Nifty are off marginally from the top of the day. The Bank Nifty is going strong, so that is a gain of nearly 250 points. But let's take it away first with all the top headlines and then drill it down to individual stocks and companies. Titan gains post Q1 results. The company's jewelry business is weak, but the watches segment shows improvement. Brokerages raised their target on the stock. The management tells CNBC TV18 margins at 18% might not be sustainable.
And IDFC gains on reports of final negotiations with the vendors to sell its broking and AMC business.
Stocks reacting to earnings include SAIL, which has delivered a strong operational performance in Q1. Den Network slips on weak results, while KEC, Gujarat Alkali and ENI report strong numbers.
And it's a stellar listing for HDFC AMC. It lists at a whopping 60% premium.
And in key earnings today, Adani Ports is expected to deliver a flat revenue on a high base, while for Adani Power, the shutdown in Mundra is expected to impact the top line. The poll points to a 9% growth in the textile business for Arvind in FY19. The street also awaits numbers from Britannia, which completes a century today.
Okay, all right. How do you trade the Nifty from here? We have quite a few movers, actually. Divi's Laboratories, well, the numbers didn't look that bad. Motilal Oswal, they had come out with a note. They said that, in fact, in terms of Divi's, it's a good play on the CRAM segment. And take a look at that stock. It's recovered close to around 3% from the low point of the day. So that's one move in the last few minutes. But Godfrey Phillips, suddenly that stock has lost its way. I remember when ITC came out with a good set of numbers, there was a rub-off effect, etc. A lot of talk on that one. Suddenly it's moved to the low point of the day, so keep an eye out on that stock as well. But let's get in Ashwini Gujral for a quick technical check on the markets. Good morning, Ashwini. How would you trade the Nifty at around this 11,400 odd mark?
See, early morning I spoke of a dip. So the Nifty is right now almost 30 odd points below the highs. Similarly, Bank Nifty went for a dip and now is turned around sharply. So now this is a good place to enter into Nifty, Bank Nifty, and Bank Nifty particularly looks stronger index than the Nifty. So that way, because two major banks are up more than 2%, so it seems there is, downside support. So right now is a great time to enter on the banks, particularly because, exuberance is done. So Shriram Transport is a buy with a stop of 1440, target of 1510. ICICI Bank is a buy with a stop of 310, target of 324. And GSW Energy is a buy with a stop of 66, target of 72. Today, these corporate banks are doing much better. So there's a clear movement of money which appears to be happening towards ICICI, State Bank, etc. So that way, that trend is getting strengthened.
Ashwini, any thoughts on UPL? that has just crossed its 50-day moving average. It's trading higher than the 20-day moving average, still below the 100 and 200-day moving averages, but it's practically at a 2.5-month high. What's the chart telling you?
See, it collapsed also similarly. So that way it's made a bottom at this 550 zone. My sense is 700, 720, which is the 200-day moving average. The stock should be able to get to that level.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much for that, Ashwini. Well, good going for the markets. We're building onto those gains. We're holding about that 11,400 odd mark. So pretty good going out there. Broader markets, quite a few stocks moving around. IRB Infra has moved higher as well as we speak. Now that stock is up close to around 4% odd. Let's get the intraday chart. IRB Infra moving higher on good volumes.
Welcome back. For the markets, just hovering around that 11,400 mark on the Nifty. The Sensex is higher by about 175 odd points, just marginally off from the low point of the day. It's clearly banks which are doing the heavy lifting today. So the top gainers include an ICICI Bank, so that's rallied nearly about 3%. State Bank of India is strong ahead of its numbers later this week. So post Bank of Baroda's numbers, expectations are that SBI too might deliver good numbers, and Axis Bank too has been rallying hard for the last few days. But let's invite the first corporate that we have on the show, and that is Kamdhenu. That's a stock on our radar on the back of a strong set of Q1 numbers. To discuss this and more, we are now joined by Satish Kumar Agarwal, the chairman and MD of the company. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for joining in. If you could first tell us what is the percentage by way of royalty that you get from your customers, and is there scope to improve it or increase it?
First of all, good morning, everyone. And the royalty income for the FY19, we hope with the increase of more than 33%, approximately 80 crore.
80 crores, sir, is you're expecting it to be at 80 crores for FY19?
Yes.
Okay, if you could break that up for us, sir, what is the current royalty you take? Around 1%, 0.8%, 0.9%? If you could tell us about that. Are you planning on increasing the percentage, or is it going to be, the volumes as well?
Right now, we are charging 0.8 to 1% as royalty of the total sales of the TMT bar.
Okay.
But in future, we are not right now planning for the increase in the royalty, but we are planning to increase the volume. By the next 3 to 5 years, we are planning for doubling the capacity through franchisee route, from existing 2.5 million ton to 5 million ton through franchisee route.
2.5 to 5 million, that's what you're planning for the next couple of years. That's in FY20.
Yeah, yeah.
And by the end of FY19, what should it be at?
By the end of FY19, the capacity we hope to cross the 2.5 million ton.
Okay. Mr. Agarwal, will you continue to collect royalties of 0.8 to 1% even on the added capacity via the franchisee route?
No, we are planning to recover the royalty as well through one-time agreement charges, plus some time increase in the new added franchisees. So that will give us a average product mix of more than 1%.
Okay, all right. So you're planning on taking a one-time charge, plus you're going to take this 0.8%. Just to tell our viewers, Kamdhenu basically then do branding of the steel TMT bars. When those TMT bars are sold out, then in fact, because of Kamdhenu's branding, their retail reach as well as their expertise, they get roughly around 1% of the selling price of the TMT bar. So just to update our viewers. But besides this, sir, besides the royalty, the paint business as well has been doing roughly around 200 crores odd. Now, in the first quarter of this year, there is some growth as we can see. What kind of a revenue target do you have for your paint business for this year? If you could give us a sense of what is the current capacity utilization levels out there?
Yeah, we are doing good in the paint business as well. Last year, we have achieved a growth of more than 20%. And this year in FY19, we are planning for more than 35 to 40% growth to the tune of more than 275 crore.
270? Okay.
275 crore. And the present capacity utilization will be 70% of the premium products.
70% of the premium products. Your total capacity is what, 46,000 tons?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're running at 70% of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what will all this mean?
One thing more I would like to add that we have launched a new product for interior and exterior also, and that's a unique product that we have introduced for the first time in India.
Okay. Mr. Agarwal, just to put the numbers straight, you're saying the paint business could see revenues of 275 crore in FY19?
Yeah.
Okay. And add to that 80 crores of royalty. So we're talking about revenues of nearly 350 crore in FY19, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that would compare with 200 crores in FY18?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very sharp jump.
Right. So the paint business on a like-to-like basis will be 275 crores versus 200 crores. The royalty will be 80 crores versus 61 crores. So that's the like-to-like comparison.
Okay.
So if you could finally just give us a sense of what is the current working capital that you require in your books. If you could tell us about that. What was it last year? What is it currently? And what is the rate you're borrowing at? Because I can see there is a finance cost.
We are not increasing any working capital since due to an account of internal accruals. We have enough funds with us.
Okay.
And moreover, we are not increasing any bank funding for the working capital.
Working capital is 100 crores?
Yes. Right now it is 100 crore and it's not fully utilized so far.
And you're borrowing at what, 8-9%? You'll be paying interest on this, right?
Yes.
So what is it, 8%?
Right now the interest rate is, I think, about 9%.
9%. All right. Final question, sir. You all had issued this, you had issued some shares to yourself as well as a couple of NBFCs. Are they going to get converted? What is the outlook there? Will you all be issuing more shares? Because then you'll be diluting your base.
No, I think we have given these shares to the loan identity. They are our franchisee partners or known to the company for the last several years.
Okay.
And I think about 10 lakh shares are converting already in the month of July.
Okay.
And by the end of this year, we will be converting the entire shares of 20 lakhs to the promoter as well as to the NBFC companies.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for joining in. On your screen is an update from the Bhushan Power resolution case. Remember, Tata Steel had emerged as the highest financial bidder, as per the second round of bidding, which took place in July. And now we understand the NCLAT has extended the deadline for submission of the revised bids to August 13th. So I guess all three parties, JSW, Liberty, as well as Tata Steel, would be, submitting, and a bid for Bhushan Power.
Absolutely. Rima, I was just reading a note last week, and they said that if Tata Steel, maybe if they're not too aggressive with this bid, then in fact, JP Morgan, I think, was the brokerage house. They said that they will actually like it, because that will not increase the leverage too much in its books. Tata Steel has already got Bhushan Steel. If they're going to be aggressive and they're going to take Bhushan Steel and Power and Well, then that's going to be more than 18,000 crores. So just to give our viewers some numbers, the rough numbers that we have, obviously, or we don't have the official numbers with us. Tata Steel's bid was approximately 17,000 crores approximately. You had Liberty's bid that was higher than that, and JSW Steel, they had backed out because they were much lower. Let's get Ashmit first, but the short point is, if Tata Steel is not very, very aggressive, then some part of the street will like it, because the debt in the books will not increase. Ashmit, fill us in. What's the latest?
So what we understand is that Tata Steel had, after the NCLAT had provided for the revised bids for the Bhushan Power resolution to be submitted by today, August 6th, Tata Steel subsequently had moved the apex court, whereby they had sought a stay of the order. Their argument was quite simple, that they came out on top as far as the round one of bidding was concerned, and that they're strictly opposed as far as any form of revised bids or round two of bidding is concerned. Now, that was something that the apex court was not prepared to grant an interim relief on. But what the apex court had done is that it had given a hearing of August 10th, that's later this week on Friday, had given a date of August 10th to Tata Steel to hear their arguments against the round two of bidding as had been allowed by the NCLAT. Now, subsequent to that, they now moved the NCLAT where they sought a deferment of the hearing, essentially to allow for the Supreme Court to take cognizance of the matter. Now, on the back of that, what we understand is that the apex court, what it has done, it has extended the deadline for submission of revised bids by a week. That's next Monday till August 13th. The NCLAT has slipped in another caveat that any bids that have to be submitted should be unconditional in nature. But the key takeaway now is that the deadline falls after the date of hearing in the Apex Court. The Supreme Court will hear the matter on Friday. The deadline for submission of the bids will be on next Monday. That will be August 13th. So on that count, at least Tata Steel has that liberty of moving the Apex Court, of approaching them and arguing against the round 2 of bidding. So on that front, relief coming in. But of course, we'll have to wait and watch for any cues coming in from them, from the Apex Court on Friday's hearing. That's on the August 10th.
Okay, so Ashmit, for the benefit of our viewers, Tata Steel was the highest financial bidder. They do not want another round of bidding. So now on the 10th, if the Supreme Court rules in favor of Tata Steel, then Tata Steel will go ahead, will bag Bhushan Power. However, if they do not, then on August 13th, all the 3 parties will put in fresh revised bids, and then we'll see who bags Bhushan Power, right?
Yeah,
Indeed, that's what our understanding is, that as of right now, that in case they do get the relief from the Apex Court, that the round 1 bidding shall hold and that there shouldn't be any round 2 bidding, then that squarely benefits Tata Steel as they came out on top. They were the 8-1 bidder. On the other hand, as you correctly pointed out, that if the Apex Court refuses to grant them interim relief, August 13th is the deadline for submitting a revised bid, and that opens up another can of worms in terms of fresh bids having been submitted by all the 3 resolution applicants.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for that, Ashmit. Reema, actually, we had spoken to the management of Liberty House. Mr. Gupta had spoken to me. He said he firmly believes that his bid was higher than Tata Steel. So that's why, in fact, this entire bidding process was again thrown open. Importantly, I've got that note of JP Morgan. What they say is that, in fact, this is the last week's note. They said that, in fact, if Tata Steel doesn't get into this bidding war for Bhushan power assets, then, in fact, it would be seen positively by investors because currently there's a lot of concerns about the high leverage in its books. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that front as well.
And it's important for banks as well because Bhushan Power is sitting on debt worth 48,500 crore rupees. PNB was one of the big lenders to Bhushan Power.
Promise, let's get straight to chatting with the management of ACE, that's Action Construction Equipment. That's the stock in focus on the back of the strong set of numbers actually they delivered in the first quarter. To discuss that and more, we are joined by Saurabh Agarwal, the ED of the company. Hi, Mr. Agarwal. Thanks so much, sir, for joining in. Well, it's been a super quarter, actually. Crane business growing by around 80%, so that's pretty good going. What's the sustainable growth rate that we can see, particularly for the cranes business? And earlier you had told us 30-35% growth overall for FY19. That holds, or you're upping it?
Yeah, good morning. Yes, we've had a really good quarter. And going forward, what I see that in the cranes business, we should be able to grow at about 35-40%. Let's say from this quarter onwards or next quarter onwards.
Okay.
And on a whole year basis, yes, we had projected 30-35% growth in the revenue. Going forward, I think it should be a little faster than that. That time will only tell.
Okay, so there is an upside risk to your revenue guidance of 30 to 35% for the full year. Saurabh, while your agricultural equipment has shown very strong revenue growth, the margins there have been quite subdued. In fact, just about 1.71 in this quarter. When can we start expecting an improvement in the margins there?
Yeah, in the margins as well as revenue. I think within this year, and especially from the third and fourth quarter onwards, I think we should start doing about a 7-8% on the margin level.
Okay.
And obviously with an increased revenue about 20-25% on a year-on-year basis. That's what we are aiming at, and it looks possible, yeah.
Saurabh, I need to ask you about this. You said your cranes business, how much will it grow? The overall business we got at 35% odd. But cranes business in particular, how much will it grow by?
On a whole year basis, I think we are looking at about 35 to 40%.
That's it, but the first quarter you have grown by around 80%, 79%.
Yeah, you also have to factor in a smaller base that we have on a year-on-year basis.
All right.
So to prudent, I would put it at 35-40%, both for the company as well as the crane.
Okay.
Anything beyond that in terms of revenue would not be the truth.
Okay, all right.
If you could, all right. What about your order book and the kind of inflows you've seen? Can you hear us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. What about your order book currently and the kind of inflows you've seen in Q1 and the pipeline?
The pipeline is very strong.
Any numbers?
I think our order book has been growing on a yearly basis about 40-50%, and then it is holding up. So even in the this monsoon season, which is actually a lean season, starting from April, May is a little slow, then monsoon set in, but we've seen a strong order book. So going by that, we can expect it to even grow bigger than 50%. That again, time will tell once the rains finish.
Debt in your books, what's your working capital days currently?
See, our working capital stands about 50 crores, and which is, I think, easily manageable because even in this quarter, we've been able to reduce our inventory days a little and even our debtor days a little.
To what levels?
We brought our inventory days from 68 to about 60 days, and from our debtor levels from about 41 days to 40 days.
Okay, and you said working capital. Besides working capital, you don't have any other debt?
Not really. Our overall debt, including our short-term and long-term, is close to about 100 crores in the last quarter. And going forward, we are looking at, sort of doing away with it. And I think it's possible within this year.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in. That is ace for you. Well, let's shift the focus then to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Sources tell us that SHRI equipment IPO issue may be postponed or called off. Abhishek joins in with those details. Abhishek, what's the key reason for that?
Well, to begin with, Rima, the key reasons have been that investors' feedback for the IPO. Now, we'll just begin that sources tell us that the IPO of SHRI equipment may have been shelved off or, postponed to a later date with, the pulled off or the written down of IPO more or likely. So IPO was planned actually in Q4 of FY18. It got postponed to Q1 of FY19 and then to Q2 of FY19. So investors see the impact, IPO impacting the shareholders of SHRI Infra. Management has done exclusive roadshow, especially in the international market, wherein they have got feedback from the investors. And what investors are saying is that turning SHRI Infra into a holding company will impact the stock discounting of the company. So in recent time, if you see, the stock has corrected from the highs, given the fact that the IPO was planned and therefore there was a holding company discount being given. But with this IPO may getting shelved, the holding company discount may get over or may get done away with. So another point that investors are mentioning is that post SHRI equipment IPO, SHRI Infra will be left with no strong business of its own. Although the management has clarified that they have two businesses, I'll mention later. Investors also see merger creating more value for shareholders of SHRI Infra. We wrote to the management, that is the SHRI Infra, and the feedback was IPO of SHRI equipment has not been postponed or called off. IPO will be value accretive for stakeholders of SHRI Infra. Post-IPO, SHRI Infra will have strong business like infra financing and infra investment. However, SHRI equipment forms a larger part of their pie, and if you if you put down this IPO, the holding company discount gets shelved off with the stock price, and that is the feedback from the investors. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much for that, Abhishek. Well, on the back of Abhishek's exclusive, you take a look at the intraday chart of the stock. It's moved virtually to the low point of the day, so we should get the intraday chart up for you, moving to the low point of the day in reaction to a possible postponement of that IPO. But we'll wrap up on this show. As we do that, we'll leave you with excerpts from my exclusive conversation we had with the DEA Secretary Subhash Chandra Garg. Stay tuned. Trading Hour comes up next.
The government has actually adopted the principle of giving 50% cost plus prices. The MSP, as far as the fiscal impact is concerned, you make procurement for the Kharif crops in October, November, then those get sold much later in January, February, or even later in March, April. The fiscal impact is only at a time when there is a sale at a loss, right? So the fiscal impact of in the current year of the MSP is hardly anything material. We have already a major provision in food subsidies, which are there. So
1.60 lakh crores.
1.6 to 1.8 lakh crores, getting 5-10,000 crores here and there for that is not too drastic. On the Ayushman Bharat, I think things have become much more clearer.